Ready.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. In this webinar, we are going to talk about AWS security and compliances, protecting your business in the cloud. Let's. So myself, I am Parvesh Mushraf. I am working as an business development executive in On Data Software Solutions. In this meeting, our agenda is I will be talking about on data software solution, giving an intro like what we are doing and where are we are located and what are the services we do, and then the AWS security and compliances, protecting your business is going to be talked by Srini, and what are the AWS exclusive benefits we can give as an AWS advanced partner, and we can have a Q&A after this meeting. If you can feel free to put your questions in the chat. Otherwise, you can ask by your my on your mic itself. So then, so this is one data. So one data we have with the 10 plus years of experience in software development, we have helped small businesses and medium businesses and startups to get digitalized and to compete with this AI world. We totally focused on three things. One is AI integration, another one is data analytics, and another one is cloud solutions. So we have 100 plus certified AWS certified cloud experts in our team, and we have capabilities like we have teams in onshore, nearshore, and offshore, and we are located in we are located globally. We have main branches at USA, and we most of the R&D is happening in India, and we have a Mexico team in Mexico, Canada, and Sri Lanka as well. So we mostly help businesses to make their cloud journey smooth and move faster. So as I mentioned, we have globally presence and we can help you 24/7. We will be available for 24/7. So before we diving in, let us start about the challenges businesses facing while they are trying to implement cloud security and compliances. First, they are more mainly they don't have that cost constraints and they have lack of continuous monitoring and data protection and encryption steps, and they have some blind spots on complaints and governances, and many human errors and lack of automations, and they have some problems on doing backups and disaster recovery. So to talk about this in depth and give you solutions, what are the solutions does AWS have, and as an AWS advanced partners, how we can help you in this will be talked by our AWS solution architect, one of the best, and he has 9 plus of experience in teaching in cloud, and then he has 5 years of experience in technical. So he knows what he is talking, and let's welcome Srinivas and Lingaresh, and s- screen is yours, Srinivas.
Uh, thank you, Pavish. Thank you for introduction. And hi all. Welcome to the session today. Uh, uh, Pavish, I request you to share the screen
Or-
and present the PPT. So as we know, in the recent days, security is being a big threat for all kinds of customers, like having it in either it in a traditional or on-premises server or having it in a different clouds. So this is being a major threats. And how do we avoid that? And what kind of security benefits that we have when we go with the AWS services? And what are the governances or any kind of compliances that we have to see? So that is a major point or major things like what we're going to discuss in the webinar today. So like as starting, so like we had an introduction about the Pavish about one data and mentioning about the major threats what we have, what we face in the day-to-day activities in the business environment. So now, while we getting into the AWS security and governance, so now this session has been split into five different chapters. So the first chapter, what we're going to cover is about the security challenges in the traditional and in the cloud environment. And the next point is like we're going to deal about the AWS shared responsibility model and what are the security services that has been available in AWS and what are the different kinds of security and the governance's audience and it approaches towards the security and governance. So we're going to see about this one. And finally, we're going to get into security and governance activities. So what are the activities that we do and how as a partner, as an advanced partner in AWS, how OneData is going to help you with the security and the governance part. So moving on. So Pavish, can you get into the next slide, please? Before getting into the about getting to know about the security and the benefits of using AWS or its services, so first we just wanted to identify what are the like the major drawbacks that we have in the day-to-day life and what are the security threats that has been happening. We are aware of using AWS or aware of using any other on-premises or any other cloud providers, but what are the challenges that we face in the day? So that comes the high level. In the high level, that first comes is the limited visibility. So limited visibility. So that comes like like the most of the organization they don't have any kind of visibility to detect or to detect or having the anomalies or threats. They don't know about that one. So they don't have like since they are having too many services running, too many applications running, they don't care about like what is going on, what is happening. So that is a one major drawbacks, that is one major challenge what we face in the security. And next one, we have the lack of control. So lack of control, like it says like we give the permissions. So what kind of permission has to be given, what kind of the user comes into the services, and what is the access or the permission that has been given to be, that has to be clearly noted, and that will help us to know like the that will help us to identify the challenges in the security. So and then is the automation. So everywhere, whatever we do, automation, because automation will avoid 90% of the human disruptions, because manual process will always will may occur with the problems. So to avoid that, so it is best way to get into the getting into the automation. So where nowadays like having low automation is also being a kind of a challenge in the securities with all the kind of traditional and as well as the cloud services. And complex audits. So depends upon the local country or local state wherever you have the law changes. When we get into US, like for any kind of health informations kind of application, we need to go with HIPAA. When you go with a kind of any kind of card information details that you store in your application, then you have to go with PCI DSS. So there are different kinds of like what we call it as a compliances. So the compliances it differs, and the audit of the compliances it is becoming too lagging. It is becoming too complex. So customers facing a challenge when they go with the kind of a complex audits. So these are the major drawbacks or the challenges what they have in the regular in the traditional on-premises as well as in the cloud service providers. So how now we're going to get into the what are the benefits of using the AWS security services. We're going to see in the next slide. Next slide, please. So when we get into the AWS security services, so we will, so like you see, like with the AWS security services, the customer can scale securely with the visibility and the control. Okay, so they used to fine grain identity and access control. So combining with, like continuous monitoring. Okay, so once what happened is that increased visibility and the fine grain of the monitoring has been done. So then what happens is that the real-time security information will be protected, and then customer can encrypt the data. So they have the kind of encryption, different encryptions they could encrypt the data when in the transit by having SSL certificate for the SSL or the TLS certificate for the application. Okay, and they could also have their data encrypted when it is rest. So you're storing your data, you're going to recover it after 2 or 3 years. So what happens to your data? You wanted to encrypt it? Yes, we could encrypt the data. So the customer can encrypt the data in transit as well as encrypting the data at the rest. So both can be happen. So that will ensure that only the authorized users can access it. Okay. Next, the global infrastructure is designed to meet, the most strengthened security requirements. And AWS is providing a variety of deeply integrated and rigorous tested services that can automate the security and compliances task. You wanted to integrate your application with any other third-party audit tool? Yes, you could do it. So AWS is providing that kind of integrity to help your audit process also. And AWS has the largest network of partners and solutions. Therefore, you can extend the benefits of AWS by augmenting your offering with a partner solution. Your customers, like as a customer, you already know and trust. So these are the few benefits of having the AWS security services. Can I get into the next slide, please, Parvish? And about the compliances benefit with the AWS. As a customer, like the customer inherits the latest security controls that uses AWS, that the AWS uses of its own infrastructure. Okay, so what I mean is that these control strengthen their compliances and the certification programs. So the customer, what they can do is that they can reduce the risk and promote scale by using AWS monitoring services that detect configuration changes and security event across their system. So customer can automate the compliance process reporting with on-demand access over, like around 200, 2,500, like 2,500 security control measures. So that can also be automated under the compliances reporting. And AWS provides controls, visibility, and audit-friendly services so that the customer can comply with their specific local data privacy laws and their regulations. So it depends. Like as I mentioned, you could go with HIPAA. When you go with card information, you go with PCI DSS. So it depends. And the design of the AWS global infrastructure helps the customer to retain the complete control over the region. So region is like wherever you host your application. So region where the data is physically located. So they could completely take control over the infrastructure. And this helps them to meet the data residency requirement. So whenever you wanted to have a data residency, yes, you could go and meet that. And also moving your AWS cloud doesn't make the customer automatically complain. So when you say, you might say that, yes, I'm having everything into AWS. So I just move everything into AWS. So it is all secured and it is automatically compliant. No, it is not like that. But it has to does them to go on their own way. It depends upon the application what you use. It depends upon the services whatever we have or the AWS have. So what we could do is that we could help you to get your application in a compliant manner. You want your healthcare application to be HIPAA compliant? Yes, AWS service is helping, and OneData can also help you with that one also. So these are the few compliances benefits with the AWS. And getting into the next slide, please. So we have AWS shared responsibility model. So as mentioned, like the security. So security is the major threat, like as I mentioned. So security, as you say, like when I have completely have my application running in AWS, is that I'm going to be complained? No, you're not going to be complained because here, AWS mentioned that security is a shared responsibility model. So what happens is that the customer is going to responsible for the security in the cloud, and AWS is going to be responsible for the security of the cloud. So these in the cloud and off the cloud is going to be the responsibility of the or what it is going to be the responsibility what has been taken by the AWS itself and as well as a customer. So the as I meant, so the customer is responsible for the security in the cloud. This means that they are responsible for securing their own data, their operating system, their network, the platforms, and other resources that they deploy in the cloud. And like the customer retains the controls of the security that they implement to protect their own content. Okay, so this includes the platform, the application, the system, and the networks, just as they would for application in an on-premises data center. So they have to go with this. And so as a customer, what you have to do is that it is continue to be responsible for protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the data. So they're also like as meant, the customers are also responsible for meeting any kind of specific business and compliances requirement for their workloads. Okay, so this is all about the customer part, and what the responsibility is being taken by AWS is AWS is responsible for protecting the global infrastructure that runs all the services offered in the cloud. So they have a virtual machine. So what kind of security you have, you provide. Yes, AWS is going to take the responsibility of that one. And whatever it has been present, I have to enable it. That is a responsibility what I do in the cloud. So you could see it, right? So AWS and the customer. So they both take the equal share. So that's why the security in the AWS comes under like shared responsibility model. And including that, the infrastructure compromises. So as I mentioned for the AWS part, the infrastructure compromises that hardware, software, networking, and the facilities that runs the AWS services. So that includes the foundational services like the compute, storage, networking, and database. So these all comes under the responsible of AWS itself. So you could clearly see in the diagram in the picture where you have the customer data. So you could see the first half at the top, like that comes under the customer who is responsible for the security in the cloud. So your data and the platform what you run and the application that you have, and identity and access management. You have a user, you have a set of users that use the application. Yes, you have to take responsible by enabling the two-factor authentication. So these kind of security has to be taken in the cloud by the customer. Okay, and like as I mentioned, like the operating system, the network, the firewall configuration, whatever it is all being the responsible of customer. But when I go with the AWS, the security of the cloud, what is the responsible of AWS? So in that case, it comes the compute, storage, networking, database, and whatever the services it has been provided by AWS, and the availability zones, the regions, edge locations, these all comes under the global infrastructure. So these all comes under the security of AWS, and it's the responsible of AWS itself. So this is what we call it as a shared responsible model. And into the next slide, please. So now we're going to see about AWS security, identity, and compliances. So we may see that so there are different categories of services and different kinds of security and compliances services. So what how it is being used. So we have a service called identity and access management. So you know that identity and access management is a service. So what happens is that helps the customer to manage the identities. Who is the user going to get into my application? How is he going to monitor my services? So that one. So he's going to manage the identities, the resources, and the permission securely at a scale level. So that is what we call it as identity and access management. And when we get into the detection, so detection services here, it helps the customer to identify the potential security misconfiguration. Here we have a service called as security hub. Okay. So this security hub, this actually it is a kind of this is the tool, or this is a service where for any kind of compliances has to be done. So this will all be taken over there, and the compliances will automatically, what happens is that will come. You could see the checks over there. You wanted to have a PCI DSS complaints. You want to have a CIS benchmark. We call it as computational information security, CIS. Okay, so that check, so there are different versions also. You wanted to enable that checks and want to identify what are the findings, what are the things like we wanted to see over your overall application. You want to detect everything. Yes, the security hub helps you to do that. And when we come with the network and application protection, yes, we have a service called AWS Shield. So Shield, it is like a firewall. So that is used to protect your the protect, or it is used to stand as a firewall between your like the attackers getting into your application, okay, into your network, into your AWS network. So there occurs AWS Shield. And data protection. So data protection, you have a data at you, as I mentioned, like the data has been transcripted both in transit and as well as in the data is encrypted both in the transit as well as in the rest stages. So in that case, when you have your data at rest, how is your data being encrypted? You use a service called KMS. So that is key management services. This is a key where it is used to encrypt your data and store the protected information of the customer or any kind of services. It will be stored, and this will be completely, like this, without unauthorized, you cannot use the particular services. So that helps the KMS services. And regarding any kind of incident response, you have a service called Amazon Detective. And for the compliances, so the compliances, you wanted to have the compliances with AWS having, I have to go with HIPAA, or I have to go with PCI DSS, or I have to go with GDPR. So any kind of compliances, yes, Artifact is a service that provides the customer comprehensive view of their compliance status. So that will give the status. So this is all few services which comes under the security, identity, and compliances. There are a lot more services, but these are the major core services what we use in AWS in the day-to-day activity. Next slide, please. So when we're getting into the security governance, ordinance, and approaches. So when discussing the security objective with the customer, so as a customer, you're there and I have to discuss on the security objective. So the core audience, like what the core audience for is that it comes under two different categories. So for the governance board, one is the key decision maker and the key influencer. So this part will be clearly seen in the next slide. So before that, I'll just give you a overall high view of what is the key decision maker and what is the key influences, what are the accountability and all. So for the key decision makers, as I mentioned, are they accountable for approving and signing off the on work? Okay, they're signing off on the work. So they are informed of progress, but not directly involved in the solution task of their business initiatives. So they are here to sign off. Yes, this has been assigned. Yes, you could take and work on this one. So they are the decision makers. And there is something called another kind of users or a group where falls for the governance and security audience is that the key influencer. Key influencer are responsible for completing the task. Whatever the task has been assigned from the key decision maker, the key influencer are responsible of taking it, completing the task, providing the input to the drive business outcomes. So this is how the groups split in the security governance audience and the approaches. And the basic thing is like you have to as a partner, as a solution, as a security solution provider, I or anybody have to understand the customer needs on the following these three categories. First is that you have to knowing which phase your customer is in the journey with the AWS. Either he's a greenfield customer. So greenfield customer is like he's getting new into the AWS. So you have to come with this one. So that is what we call as a greenfield customer. And or either you have your application that has been already hosted in AWS, you wanted to modernize it or you wanted to migrate it. So that is another level. So you wanted to have a high level of security and you're going to work on that one. So we need to understand as a partner, as a solution provider, yes, you have to identify the customer's part. So customer and like the partner have to have a discussion on this based on understand the customer needs. And next is obtaining the key stakeholders alignment based on the customer's priority. So the customer is asking this as a priority. Yes, it has to be taken in. So we need to understand what is the customer is expecting first and understand the customer for, like the customer business and also like the security objectives. So the customer's goal is only about the business. But as a partner, we as a partner or a solution provider, yes, we have to take that objective to remark and mention that the security is a core feature and we have to enable all those security features, making your application is secure and all the times can be accessible only by the authorized user, not any unauthorized users can get into your application. So that is has to be understand by having the key decision maker and the key influencer as a two group of peoples, and we have to understand what the customer is all about. And next, getting into the governance slide, please. So into the governance example. So into the governance example, I could go you with a kind of a small example of like how the day-to-day activity has been happening. Okay. So support evolving the business requirement here. Like what happened is that the adapt of the business needs. So how do you do? So there is a service called auto scaling policy. Auto scaling policy automatically, it depends upon the demand of the application. When you have high demand of application, the users started to increase, and you could automatically scale up your application. That will scale up, and whenever there is a less usage of your application, that will automatically scale down. So there is something called the policy of auto scaling. So here what happens is that with this, and also you could monitor the changes also. So monitoring the changes, it requires that AWS Cloud Trial. So that is a service called Cloud Trial that can identify each and every log that has been happening in your AWS account. That can be stored in a separate, we call it as a S3 bucket, where it is a storage services, simple storage services. It's all been stored over there. All the logs can be monitored, captured over there, and only the root user, as a root user, you have the permission to go and view it. So what happens is that the Cloud Trail logs will be keeps on storing. So this is how you adapt your business needs. And next is like ensure the compliances and the demand readiness. So in that case, there is a service called AWS Outpost that can deploy the resources for consistent operation and as well as for a data residency. So, and having your managed access securely, as I mentioned, identity and access management, the user who's going to be using the application, who's going to get into your AWS services, he or him should have a very least permission, so that he has not given any additional permission, so that he couldn't go and change anything else apart from the work, whatever it has been assigned to that particular identity. So we have to control the users with the IAM, giving a least level of granting a least level of permission to that users. And even this can be audited using the service called Cloud Trial. Okay, for monitoring and like finding out the logs of the user's activity. So that even that can also be done. And automating the security controls here, so automate. So every security things, like whatever we do is that we have to automate the security responses to enforce the governance policies. So it depends upon the governance. So I have a recent user getting into my application. So that user has to be enabled with a two-factor authentication. That is a rule. That is, it is not a rule, but it is, what we call it is a security measure. So I don't do that. So I'm going to face it, because anybody can come and attack anything. So it has to be automated. Mentioning the security control policies. So we have SCPs, we call it a security control policies, that can be enabled in the AWS to have your application running in a secured and also in the governance policies, and enabling the secure collaboration. So as I mentioned, like the data private and the security. Okay, the common things that across the teams, while keeping the data private and secure. So we have to ensure that data has been collaborated and it has been securely provided in the cloud. Okay, so this is few examples like what we see, what the services, what we have in the AWS to see the governance examples. Okay, so into the next slide, please. Can you get into the next one? No. So these are few additional security services. So these security services I was mentioning about the security hub. So security hub is a compliance services where it can find out all the alerts and the compliance status of each and every services that has been running in your AWS account, and that will keep on being monitored and audited over there in the security hub. And additionally, we have GuardDuty. So GuardDuty is AWS services where this is also going to find out the findings in your AWS account. So it is going to give you like what kind of criticality your application or that particular service is running, whether it is in a high criticality, low critical severity, whether it's in a high, whether in a low severity, whether in a medium. So it depends on that. Once you enable that, we could find out high critical and high and the medium. So that can be immediately identified and can be rectified. And AWS Inspector is a service. This Inspector service, what it could do is that, so this is used to go and find out the vulnerabilities in the AWS account. So any kind of vulnerabilities that has been happening in the server, in the EC2 instance you have. So that EC2 instance, the vulnerabilities can be monitored and it will all be stored over there in the AWS Amazon Inspector, and we could start working on it. And system manager, we have the automated patch management and the SSM, we call it as SSM. So the patch management can be done in the system manager, and you want to identify your AWS services and its service applications health. Yes, you could use AWS health and Mickey, IAM access analyzer, firewall manager. So these all, kind of an additional security services. This is not additional, but depends upon the compliances, what you use for your application. These all have to be enabled into your account. So that makes your AWS services and AWS account secure all the time. And this can be regularly monitored and kept be, like it can be under the governance all the time. Okay. So can you get into the next one, please, Parvish? So as I was mentioning about the security governance role, so there are, as I was mentioning, the key decision makers and the key influencers. What are the kinds of roles that the key decision makers has been assigned, and what is the key influencer work that has been done? So the key decision makers always are accountable. As I was mentioning, they are approving and signing off the on work, signing off on the work. So they're not directly involved into the work, but they are being assigned the work to the another key influencer. So here comes the CISO, so the Chief Information Security Officer. Any kind of ISO compliances, any kind of SOC 2 compliances, any kind of HIPAA compliances you want to do, you have your CISO, and then you have your CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, and then we have the CRO, the Chief Risk Officer. We have the Vice President. So this is a kind of a role, target roles that a key decision makers are. So the Vice President of Infrastructure and the Chief Compliances Officer. So these are the major officers category or the key decision makers category, and the next group is the person or a resource who's going to work on the particular task that has been assigned with, and he's going to be the responsible of the infrastructure or about the application to make your application compliances all the way. It is a key influencer. We have the infrastructure lead, the security managers, operation managers, and the director of the IT security. So these are the security governance and audits and approaches their target roles and what kind of groups they have been categorized into it. Can you go up, Parvish, if you don't mind? Another one? Yes. So as a partner, so far, like I was mentioning about the governance, about the security, about the AWS security services, the shared responsibility model, and what kind of security and the threats that we could manage, and what are the things like we have to take care. Now, getting into this, like how as a partner, as a one data as a partner, how we could help you. So as a partner, the customer data, yes, we could manage your whole application. We could manage all your customer data. We could manage your platforms, your application, your identity access management as the security in the cloud, whatever you do, that one can be completely managed by a partner as a partner, as an advanced partner. One data can help you in all the times. Like so this is the responsibility of partner. Partner is not only responsible, but they are being certified with different levels of competency and other programs. So we call it as a security competency program. So either a service provider or it can be a software provider. So as a consulting service provider, yes, I'm consulting service provider in the security part. So that is a kind of identity for the partners to have to manage the customer's application all the times, and so that can be achieved only by the partners. And we have MSSP programs, so where the managed service secured programs, that is under the different levels, where level one can be covered only with the as a partner they could manage and access everything as protect your account, secure your account all the times. Okay. So next one, please. So these are the major things. And as I mentioned, as a partners, we could help you to, like diverse the support options, you access the global networks or whatever you wanted to have. Like since as an advanced partners, we are being, like we are being eligible to do or eligible to support all kinds of clients. Yes, we do help you in all the ways. So this is all I have for the session now. And over to you, Pavish. So thank you for the session, team.
Thank you, Srini. Thank you for your in-depth knowledge, in-depth insight sharing, and knowledge sharing. And as an AWS advanced partners, we can help you to get started in AWS with providing you some free credits, POC, and a well architecture review with a full report. So it will be definitely help to start a business for startups or small business to get digitalized. And as an AWS advanced partners, we can help you your business to protect in AWS, build confidence security AWS solutions. So we will be sharing some links here in the chat. You can use this to connect with us, and you can wait a minute. And we will be sharing this PPT through emails to your emails, and you can go through it. And thank you, team. Thank you all for here, and thank you for the session.
So thank you all.